Welcome to this explainer. Think about how much of your day is spent relying on digital files that you just kind of assume are accurate. We all do it, right? We open a document, read the summary, and just take it as absolute truth. Well, today we're diving into a massive paradigm shift that is completely redefining how we govern our modern digital infrastructure. We're living in an era where the stakes for our digital work are literally astronomical, but the foundation, it's getting fragile. We're relying on software to make massive calls in medicine, finance, law, but that fundamental certainty beneath those decisions is eroding. So let's jump right into this transition to deterministic trust and see how we can actually reclaim absolute certainty in our digital estate. Because we are absolutely drowning in digital outputs right now. So how do we prove what's actually real? We have never had more files, more dashboards, more auto-generated summaries, or AI-drafted reports flying across our screens. It's total chaos. But as this volume explodes, the same terrifying questions keep coming up in these high-stakes environments. Can I actually trust this thing? Who approved it? What exact data was used to make it? And can I reliably reproduce it? Right now, we're stuck in a modern trust crisis, just buried under an avalanche of unverified data. And a big part of the problem is that the industry standard right now is what we call black box AI. It's essentially like hiring a brilliant artist who paints these absolute masterpieces in a locked room, but they can never, ever tell you what brushstrokes they used. Sure, it spits out impressive text and stunning images, but it operates in the state of chaotic uncertainty. The routes are totally hidden. It's basically guessing based on probabilities, and the whole process is completely unverifiable. And look, that just isn't good enough for rigorous science or strict legal compliance. On the flip side, we have this necessary paradigm shift, clear box architecture. This is all about stoic, governed order. It's entirely deterministic. The routes are completely visible, and every single transformation is proven and entirely auditable. Which brings us to the absolute core philosophy driving the Amethyst dcOS system. It's a really simple but incredibly demanding rule. If a result matters, the route should be visible. In high-stakes work, having an impressive, polished output just doesn't cut it anymore. You need an auditable trail. You have to know the exact mechanics of how that output was forged, literally step by step. You aren't just making a quick file for a Tuesday meeting, you are creating reproducible evidence. So where does this governed process actually start? Well, meet Pilgrim DGI. This is the primary intake surface for Amethyst. And you'll notice the premium, super serious aesthetic here. That is very deliberate. Pilgrim is not some playful, chatty bot designed to keep you endlessly typing back and forth like you're texting a buddy. Not at all. It's an intelligent intake mechanism built specifically to capture your raw intent and immediately kick off governed execution. It's built for serious, uncompromising work. Actually, the architects behind the system call Pilgrim DGI the Dream Maker, and it is a truly fascinating piece of engineering. It acts as this static intent-to-mission surface. So you bring it a goal, an idea, or some complex problem, and it doesn't just spit out a block of text for you to read. Instead, it silently parses your intent and translates it into a governed mission. It takes your raw thoughts and directly routes them into a highly structured production estate. Ultimately, it delivers proof-bearing products and reusable capabilities. It's a serious machine turning human intent into a tangible, verifiable reality. And the very first thing Pilgrim does when it parses your intent is create a mission card. You can think of this as an unbreakable digital contract. Before a single automated action even happens, these unalterable boundaries are set in stone. The card is completely immutable once it's issued. It defines exactly which engines are needed for the job. It establishes incredibly strict authority and permission lines. And honestly, most importantly, it dictates the stop point. It knows exactly where the system has to halt and wait for a human to approve it. There are absolutely no runaway processes happening here. Okay, so how does this digital contract actually move through the system? Enter the Amethyst dcOS production chain. Imagine a heavily governed manufacturing floor, but for digital capability. We step methodically through this 7-part loop. We start with the dream, which is your initial intent. Pilgrim turns that into a mission. That smoothly moves into the plan phase, then into the build cauldron. Next, it goes through rigorous proof checks. That results in a finalized product, and it all culminates in system growth. Every single time, your raw intent is methodically transformed into a proven, completely verifiable asset. Now, holding this entire chain together is this really profound concept called the Odin freeze. This dictates that every state transition is sealed with absolute finality. Every meaningful step in that production chain, the intent receipt, the build formula, the test results, it is all frozen in place. It establishes this unalterable law of physics within the system. Like, a mission can certainly evolve, and you can spin up new versions, but it's history. That can never, ever be overwritten. No way. But it's one thing to have this perfectly governed internal estate. What happens when you actually need to share your work? When the product leaves the system, how does it carry its truth? If you're sending a critical report to a major client, or a partner lab across the globe, or a strict regulatory board, how is that deterministic trust maintained downstream? Well, the answer is ADF, the Amethyst document format. This is the technological breakthrough that lets serious, high-stakes outputs travel out into the messy real world with embedded, unshakable trust. ADF is essentially a self-opening document capsule, and the true magic here is that the document itself and the immutable proof behind it open together simultaneously. It acts as this portable trust layer for the entire ecosystem, basically guaranteeing that the truth travels with the file. Let this sink in for a second. A PDF preserves appearance. An ADF preserves admissibility. A standard PDF just shows you what a document looks like on the surface. It's completely superficial. But an ADF proves that the document can be trusted structurally. It allows the entire reproducible history of the work, literally the DNA of how it was created, to travel right alongside the final result. It's a massive shift. Let's ground this with a real-world medical research scenario, because the stakes here are massive. Pre-Amethyst, a lab in New York sends a standard PDF report about a new biomarker to a partner lab in Switzerland. The Swiss lab reads the conclusion, but the exact deterministic pathway is totally hidden. They can't reliably reproduce it, which leads to wasted months and millions of dollars in redundant testing. But with Amethyst, the lab sends an ADF capsule instead. It carries the visible report, sure, but it also carries the admitted data posture, the source hashes, and a flawless reproducibility receipt. The exact pathway can be inspected and verified instantly. You're sharing the actual learning route itself, not just the final conclusion. Now let's shift our focus to the long-term compounding value of working this way. We call this the personal deterministic growth ledger, because every single action, every mission, and every proof state is frozen and recorded. Your Amethyst estate grows continuously over time. Your system capability grows with machine-like precision. It learns through your prior frozen missions, your admitted policy paths, both your successful and failed builds, and even when circuit breakers are triggered. This is fundamentally different from a black box AI that's just trying to guess what you want based on some hidden algorithm. Your bespoke digital estate builds verifiable capability over time, based entirely on your actual proven work history and your explicit operator approvals. It literally learns you. And because it grows based on your specific history, every user's Amethyst becomes radically different. For instance, think of a teacher's estate. That naturally evolves into a highly specialized system managing student grading, attendance, and issuing parent report ADFs. Meanwhile, a contractor's estate shapes itself to seamlessly handle multiple bounded client worlds, complex invoice engines, and strict deliverable histories. They both share the exact same underlying foundation, but they are shaped entirely by their unique, frozen operational ledgers. Of course, work isn't just files, it involves people. Tying all of this human element into the technical ledger is Mundo integration. Mundo acts as the communication spine of the Amethyst estate. It ensures that crucial human collaboration, things like messages with clients, file exchanges, operator approvals, doesn't get lost in a separate chat app or buried in some chaotic email thread from 3 months ago that you can't ever find. Instead, those communications are securely and permanently ledgered directly into the frozen operational history of your governed work. So bringing it all together, we're really looking at the interconnected, immutable laws of physics that govern this new ecosystem. Clearbox guarantees reproducible operations. The Odin Freeze provides immutable state sealing. Pilgrim DGI translates your raw intent into a structured mission. Amethyst dcOS is the operating estate running that entire production chain. And finally, ADF guarantees portable admissibility when your rigorous work actually goes out into the real world. Ultimately, it comes down to this. It is not software for making more files. It is software for making trusted reality. In a world completely starving for certainty, we really have to ask ourselves, if the digital tools we rely on every single day only generate unaccountable files, can we truly trust our reality? It's time to demand systems that produce evidence, not just outputs. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this sparks some serious thought about the infrastructure you rely on every day.